Hi everybody, Jeff Yasteen here. You know, a subscriber to my newsletter asked me a question last week. He said, what do I think of airline stocks? Okay, and more importantly, when will they go back up again? Now, obviously, I don't have a crystal ball on these things. Even in the best of times, most airlines are terrible investments. Just ask Warren Buffett when he sold out all of his position in United Airlines. I mean, labor costs are high, there's a lot of regulation, and as businesses, airlines consume a lot of cash, whether the planes are flying or not. And it is not for nothing that most of the major airlines have filed for bankruptcy at one time or another in past decades. I mean, United Airlines went bankrupt in 2001 after the 9/11 attacks. Delta Airlines filed for bankruptcy in 2005. American Airlines filed for bankruptcy in 2011. So those are the ultimate risks that any airline stock investor faces. But we know that there will be a few big winners coming out of this mess, though the time frame remains open, and I don't think that that time is now to buy any of these airline stocks. But I'll give you a couple ones to look at. One is Southwest Airlines. Symbol is LUV. Goldman Sachs recently upgraded the stock and rightly pointed out Southwest's strong balance sheet, its flexible schedule, flexible operations, and its low debt levels. The airline has more than enough liquidity to survive, even with minimal to no flights, all the way to 2022. That should be enough to outlast the virus outbreak. The other to consider is a small cap airline stock. It's Allegiant Travel. The symbol is ALGT. Now, this airline caters to leisure travelers away from the main urban hubs, and it runs a very nimble, flexible outfit, never wants to go head-to-head with any airline competitor in any of its markets if it can help it, and it has more than enough liquidity to survive with minimal or no flights until 2023. The thing I like most about Allegiant is that its CEO and founder, Maurice Gallagher, takes no salary or cash bonuses. He only pays himself the stock, so the only way he gets richer is by running the airline smartly for the benefit of long-term shareholders. That's what you want to see in any business, even and especially in the airline business. So if now is not the time to buy airline stocks, when will that be? Well, for one reason, one particular aspect here, I think we'll get a big hint by keeping one eye on those stocks and one eye on the news headlines. When the news remains really bad, but the airline stocks are no longer going down and instead are setting new weekly or monthly highs, and we see those stocks creeping higher over a period of weeks or months, that's usually a good sign. A good example from the past in a different industry is banking stocks, specifically Bank of America after the 2008 financial crisis. Now that stock fell sharply during the crisis, staged a small rebound. You can see the little blip there on the chart in 2009, 2010, and then it fell 70% through 2012. In 2013, it began to move higher. That move came with plenty of doubters, and even then the bank saw a wave of new lawsuits, mortgage fraud allegations, and messy whistleblower complaints, and it finally paid out a massive $17 billion settlement in 2014 to sort of make it all go away. By then, Bank of America stock was 150% higher, and as you can tell from the chart, it continued moving higher from there. So to turn back to the airline stocks, that's what you want to look for. More bad news, perhaps an airline bankruptcy or two at some point in the future, another outright panic like we saw in February, March about the virus, or deep concerns about the economy. But at that point, you still see the remaining stocks going up instead of down. Now, we're not quite there yet for the airline stocks. Let me give you a couple of other technical indicators to look for as well. And like everything else, there are no guarantees on these things, but the main point is that you want to trade, put your money and trade alongside the trend. You don't want to buy a stock in a clear downtrend because you may undergo a great deal of pain before the stock moves higher again. You want to trade with the trend if at all possible, and if it turns out you're wrong about that, quite often it's not a bad idea to just cut your losses and move on and wait for the trend to turn in the other direction. And so let's turn back to Southwest Airlines here, symbol LUV, as I said earlier. Now, this is the whole round trip for Southwest from 2013 all the way to the present time. And what do you see here? If I zoom in on this, what do you see? There's one top, a second slightly higher top, a third top that's slightly higher than that. Those are, generally speaking, good signs. It shows that there's strength in the stock, even though each time it keeps having a bit of a sell-off. What do you see on this next set? And this is 2017, 2018, and February this year before the coronavirus. You see declining tops. The stock is no longer making new highs. That is, generally speaking, a bad sign. Doesn't mean that you write off the stock. It just means that from a technical basis, it's having trouble getting to new highs. It means that somebody, someone, institutions of some kind, are back in the background selling the stock every time it gets to those higher levels and puts it back into a downtrend again. That is something that you want to see reverse going forward here. So again, using Southwest as an example, all right, here is February before the coronavirus really hit home to all of us as investors. Here's the bottom for the airline stocks in mid-May. This is the most recent sort of near-term top for it and the retracement since then. What you want to see if you were going to buy this stock anytime soon, you really want to buy it when it's making a new high, a new near-term high is the way I would put it. So let's take the same chart and we'll flip it over to looking at it on a weekly basis. These are what they call candles, right? It's a candle chart. Each candle, red or green, represents 1 week's worth of price action. And I use these kinds of weekly candle charts, and again, not to predict the future or anything like that. Technical analysis is a great tool. It's not the only tool. But I think it's helpful to look at the broader trend here because, again, it helps you to see sort of the forest for the trees, to use that old cliche. And in this case, again, the pattern of declining tops is pretty clear here. And so stepping back, that is what you want to see for Southwest Airlines. And it's probably not going to happen in the next couple of weeks and probably not in the next handful of months because it's going to just take time for the economy to get going again, and nobody knows exactly when that's going to happen. So wrapping things up here, just putting a final point on all this is don't be too eager to buy these stocks. You're going to have plenty of time to buy them in coming weeks or more than likely, as I was saying earlier, months. And it's just the way it works for these sorts of things. So don't feel like you have to, immediately buy them. By the time these stocks really are ready to move higher in a big way, so you can buy it and have a pretty good shot at knowing that not just for a few weeks, but for months and for years, the stock's going to trend higher. Everyone will have written off most of these at that point. So don't feel like you have to buy them right now. There'll be plenty of time. You'll be well rewarded for your patience somewhere down the road on the other side of this coronavirus situation. So with that in mind, make sure to keep following me on social media. I'm Jeff Yasteen, wishing you the best of good buys.